important. That's going to change it made or determine the decision made in the future. So
Sure. And that is going to be part and parcel of what the next document we go to, which is, again, we're not asking you to vote on or what have you the operating budget. This is just a starting point. What we would appreciate from the commissioners is more feedback in terms of we think that there may be opportunities to change those numbers, either positively or negatively, based on perhaps things that you know, things that are going on in your communities, things that perhaps don't look right to you. We can always, evaluate that. But again, we're looking for guidance from the Commission to kind of mold that budget a little bit more. Note that there is no capital allocation included in there. We were trying to get to a zero budget. And our big problem is in trying to deal with the revenue issue. So without the Commission deciding on revenue increases, it becomes very difficult to say how much are you going to forecast in terms of increased revenue. So that's, again, part and parcel of the recommendations that you just got before this.
yes,
Yes, may I make a suggestion?
Yep.
As we're looking, especially towards the expenditure side of some of the items, you show the different Septembers, 2007, 8, etc., and then the
Yep.
adopted budget for last year. I think it would be helpful to see the actual expenditures for 2009. So, for example, when I look at some of the items, utilities, for example, I see through September 2010 it's $22,000, but we budgeted for $40,000, and I want there might be a couple of months that it might
Easily done.
so that it helps, so you can see an actual last year,
Yep.
because obviously this year is not done as
Sure.
we're doing the budget. It will help provide the numbers as we're looking at it.
Not a
So
problem.
I don't know, for example, for utilities, if professional fees, are those real numbers, or they just, are we paying more of it in the last 3 months when it seems to be so far off? 21,000 versus 46,000, we're asking for the same amount. I think that might be a little bit more helpful. Particularly on the expense side. Thank you.
Okay, Bishop, want to talk to this the capital assessment?
And again, one of the things that we have done is we've asked Lisa Easton to help us at least get the framework of a capital plan put together. I know this has been a long time coming. So Lisa and I visited all of the town properties, and we have a companion document for the town of Rye properties. But this document isolates just the Rye Town Park numbers and the Rye Town Park projects. We've tried to quantify them in terms of the physical structure or the general physical nature of the area intended. And as you walk through, you'll be seeing things like, the main building, we still have to look at exterior envelope restoration, the stucco, windows and doors, staircases, walls, etc. We've stretched this out also in terms of trying to prioritize it and say what would come first, what would come second. So you see a 5-year breakout where we think certain expenditures might fall. Again, this is a preliminary document. The numbers are estimates. They include a substantial allowance for contingencies. So what would happen is as we felt, or as the Commission felt they wanted to go forward with a particular project, those numbers would then start to get refined because we would then put some planning to it. We'd do some takeoffs for it. We'd try to get that number a little bit more accurate as we went down the pike. And you'll see, again, it's a very extensive document. It covers the tunnels, for example. If you look at it over a 5-year plan, we're thinking the tunnels are going to cost $411,000 to completely rehabilitate. And that includes the masonry, that includes the concrete slab, the staircase.
Bishop, if the tunnels weren't used, do they have to be used?
Public to build up.
Regardless of the public.
I'll let the staff answer that question. We were 2 years ago. We were unable to open the tunnels because we had some dangerous conditions at the time that needed to be fixed.
Right.
And there was substantial public outcry. Imagine if you're on the south side of the beach, you then have to go all the way past Seaside Johnny's restaurant to come out to go to the bathrooms in the middle of the park. If the tunnels weren't there, I mean, that whole population would migrate, if you will, toward the middle of the beach in all probability.
Part of the complaints were they were using Seaside John's bathroom, but there was an enormous backlash over us not opening up. It was only-
Well,
It's-
ultimately, it's a safety concern.
I mean, if you shut them down, the beach could operate.
Right.
It's not that we can't operate, but you would suffer the slings and arrows of the public.
Okay.
The staircases are the ones that we're most concerned with, because they're steel and we had to reinforce them with wood, which makes them secure for now.
Mr. Joffrey, will you just come to the podium, please? I'm sorry, Tom.
As far as the tunnels go, what we're most concerned about are the staircases that lead up to the bathrooms. One is steel, the other cement. Both of them need to be rebuilt, and according to those estimates, you're talking about $40,000 to $60,000. That's why, and that's what initiated those recommendations that we made that were safety related. Because what we did is we put wood covering over all the metal stairs in the
Right.
men's room. It made it safe, but they need to be rebuilt. And what we were talking about, the staff, was, public safety is above all our priority. So we wanted to put that down so you could see that we need the staircases, we need the ramps going in the middle beach and the south beach. Those things, those expenditures need to be done next year.
This is a good time. Some kind of a rubber stamp.
I'm sorry, Fred.
That's all right. Those expenditures need to be done next year. And we just wanted to put that up there as part of what we're going to need to start the season. And if you shut the tunnels down, there'll be a major, I can't even tell you. There were so many complaints. It was ongoing, then Seaside Johnny got involved, and all his customers got involved because they were using his bathrooms and our bathrooms up top. And the overuse of our bathrooms would be dramatic.
Understood. Thank you.
Speaking of Seaside Johnny's, I think we should have a follow-up meeting with Mr. Ambrose and Sam to see how it went from their perspective. I don't know if the whole commission has to go, but at least staff and
There should be
one or two commissioners should do a
Should be
follow-up,
at least,
a seasonal wrap-up, yeah.
Right.
And
Three commissioners.
I think just getting back to this capital assessment, the total price tag on all these projects is $14 million.
Yes.
This is a wish list, of course, it's not reality, but because it's a wish list, we really do have to do some prioritizing, and I think that has to happen at the type of meeting that Mayor French suggests.
Hence my implosion earlier in the night.
Because, quite frankly, the city of Rye can't afford, and there's $500,000 a year for the next 3 years put aside for, these projects. I don't think the city of Rye can afford any of it.
Well,
to be honest with
I think Commissioner Sack, what I think, and I don't want to speak for the document, but what I think the document ultimately is representing is what the best case scenario is. And again, I've never seen a document like this
No, it's a great document.
since I've been around.
It's great.
So this is the starting point. That should have happened 20 years ago.
Right.
And that's the reason why you're looking at $14 million. It should be purely maintenance now. It should be maybe, $500,000 here, $200,000 here. But regardless of that, I agree, and it's staggering, and you're not going to fund it right now. Yes, Mr. Joffrey.
You see, part of the problem of all of this infrastructure is that with the limited staff we have, we're Band-Aiding all of these areas, these safety areas, year-round. The showers we have to repair internally ourselves 3 or 4 times minimal. We spend quite a bit of money. What we need to do is replace those showers with heavy-duty shower for heavy-duty use. And we'd eliminate the 4 or 5 times that we have to call in a plumber and correct the problems that exist with our showers. Our water fountains, none of them, they're all broken, 3 of them. We have to replace those first thing next summer. We replace them, and then some of the plumbing underneath them. So
Are those items that, during the downtime of the park personnel, are those items that could be prepped, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're not going to test them, but could some of that work be prepped now during the downtime?
well, we already have prepped the water fountains and
Good. That's
things
important.
like that.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on the preliminary capital plan?
I think it's great documented, despite the numbers. No, but it's very well thought out. I think it's exactly the type of thing, along with the workshop, I think.
Believe me, I don't want to take all the credit. Lisa Easton
Yes.
was crucial in terms of developing the document and the data.
Very professional.
Absolutely. And you know, the other thing about Lisa Easton, she brings credibility to the document
Right.
As an outside person. And obviously, I didn't see you
I
come
take
in.
exception to
Well
that.
done. You know what? As you always, anybody can say, well, you know what, Bishop was impartial and he created. But Lisa, thank you again. I didn't see you come in, and your hard work is obviously well received, and you know we can't thank you enough for you sticking with the Ride Town Park and all of its endeavors. You've really helped us so much.
So Bill just said, don't shoot the messenger.
I'll take the bullet for you.
Very good.
One of the things, again, just as a comment, I know that certainly the funding is an issue. The commissioners should remember we do have Susan Auslander going out there looking for grant money. We are on the National Register of Historic Places. We may qualify for some substantial funding. I mean, that's really what we have to push for. And any help that anybody can give us in terms of influencing our elected legislators would be helpful.
Well, I think that's important, and I think also going forward, and what's been discussed in the past is the opportunity to have private-public partnership. And if that's an opportunity for Ride Town Park, and I think we'll talk about that later on in the meeting. Is that correct, Mr. Lawyer? So that's a great opportunity. I'd like to go on to the RFP for the automated parking. Bishop, you want to give us an overview?
Okay, well, again, the RFP was actually developed by the Parking Committee, I think. It's the Parking Committee. Mr. Matheson. You basically have it there. I mean, once you get past the boilerplate, I would go right to the scope of work, which begins on page 8, scope of services. I would think that the Commission should be looking at page 8 and 9, and even 10 maybe, but to make sure that you're comfortable with what the scope of work is, that it encompasses the concepts that you want to have explored. RFPs by nature should be somewhat broadly worded to generate the most number of responses, but at the same time you do have to focus the discussion a little bit to get what you want.
Just on page 8, just under number 1, parking system must allow for cashier-free operation. I would like to maybe change the must to may. I think regardless of the mechanical system and whether you are in the heart of downtown Stamford or you're at the wherever it may be, you always need to have someone there that's going to be able to help the system along in the opportunity that goes into some kind of default or stops totally. So that would be the only suggestion that I would make. But I think the document and the whole is